Hi, my name is Nathan Bukovich, and for my presentation for the sports event project, I decided to do the Poseidon Duels Intensity Prep Camp event held at Morris Fitness Wrestling. So just a little bit of an overview about this event. This event was held at Morris Fitness Wrestling Club. I've talked in other assignments before. The purpose of this event was to have a preparation camp before a national tournament called Poseidon Duels. This camp was to get the kids ready for the tournament in a week in advance by allowing the kids to get friendly with each other. The coaches get an idea about the kids and where to put them on the teams. The club is bringing multiple teams to the event. For example, they're bringing two high school teams. They might put, I'm going to use example of 106. They might have both of the 106 pounders at that weight. They might put them at the camp, maybe have them go a few live goes and see where to put them, just to see how the team does better. So yeah, just a little bit overview event. That is really common for I've seen at this club. It really does a lot of preparation camps. They did preparation camps for state, freestyle state, Greco state, not to mention like a bunch of other ones. So the event supervisor and the manager. So the event supervisor or the head coach in the situation was Jojo Muktadi. Um, he is the man on the left. He is currently, I guess you can say he's probably like the head coach of Morris Fitness. He mainly runs the other location, however, but he's really in charge of like all the travel and stuff. The owner of the wrestling club, so the manager in this instance would be Charlie Morris, who's the owner. He's build this club up from the ground. He's the man on the right. When was the event? The camp event was held Sunday, April 19th, 2026. This event, uh, for why this camp was made, is going to be held on April 23rd to 26th, 2026. This event is actually going on right now as we speak. They are going through the women's team right now. So as of right now, the Morris Fitness's girls team is wrestling right now. Um, just a little bit more info about the event. The population served for this event was open to ages 4 to 18, considering Morris Fitness is bringing multiple teams of elementary school teams, middle school teams, and high school teams. Now, there are situations I've seen at this club where sometimes adults can practice, like there's an adult practice, and there are some situations where the adults are allowed to do the practice with permission from the owner, of course. This, however, was not allowed just at this time. So just a little bit about when I worked this event. I worked this event from 10 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. This event technically started at 8:30, but I had to come in early and help set up and get uniforms and checked, clean up, clean the mats, clean the bathrooms, and help with the other practices before the camp. This is why it's also kind of important, why I was at these practices, because even though the camp is technically, in the late afternoon, it is important to mention that some of the kids couldn't come in the late afternoon due just to other obligations. So, for example, if we had two 106 pounders that had to come in, they would come in at the 12:30 class. They would do some live goes, and then the coaches can kind of see where everyone's at in that instance. So my roles and responsibility during this event, I was there to clean up the wrestling room, the bathrooms, and overall the whole club before the camp. Just pretty much just make sure everything's tidy and just make sure that all when the parents come in, I was also in charge of making sure that all the kids and parents are checked in, everyone's paid for, everyone's checked in. During the camp, I oversaw making sure everything went smoothly, like helping the head coach with anything he needed, helping the kids with wrestling moves that they were working on. This could also have been just walking around, just making sure everyone's doing the moves right, everyone's staying on task, and everyone's working. Not to mention, I also was a practice dummy. When Coach JoJo might have been showing moves, I was helping him out in that instance. So there are some things like that to keep in mind. But yeah, my role is pretty much simple. It's kind of more of an observation role. I just kind of like looked around and see, how this event goes. From what I've seen, it was very similar in the practices too. The strengths. This camp's get the strength of this camp is that it helps them get ready for a tournament in a week advance. It helps the kids fine tune their technique and be ready for a national tournament. Poseidon Duels is a very big tournament and is held in Florida. A lot of good wrestlers are from Florida, so that is something to keep in mind. Also, just trying to make sure that their cardio is on point, have them lose some extra pounds for the ones that are cutting weight. Wrestling, cutting weight is a very huge aspect, and unfortunately, some of these little kids actually do cut weight, even they're from ages like sometimes even 4 all the way to 18. So some of them do need to cut some weight. Um, Also, like it could just be something for the parents, like dropping the kids off at their club, maybe have a whole Sunday to themselves. So that is something to keep in mind in this instance. Weaknesses. Unfortunately, there are some weaknesses. Even though having camp like this, it adds a little stress to the kids that must go to this camp. They're already gonna have like the current week off. They're gonna be skipping school. They don't really understand that they are gonna be skipping school, and they're kids. They want to skip school, but at the end of the day, not really going to help them in the long run. And also, it makes stress. So their whole week is going to be busy. They're going to pretty much not have a lot of things to do next weekend. They're going to be traveling all the time. And on top of that, they have to worry about a camp. Not only the kids do have to worry about this, but the parents have to worry about this. A lot of these kids can't drive themselves, so the parents have to take them to this camp, and not to mention that it's extra money that the parents or the kids have to pay. So, when we take kids a part of our team, they're supposed to, give us some money for, sometimes they take the kids to the tournament, they provide the housing, they provide the food, and they ask the parents to give some money, and the coaches that are in charge of this event, house the kids, and then also house the kids and also feed them. So this is just kind of extra money that the parents have to pay, and then sometimes even some of the high schoolers have to pay their own money for this. So that is something to keep in mind in this instance. Um, One of the weaknesses, well, this might seem as a way for the coaches to get money out of the parents and kids. I have seen some situations in this aspect where, as a wrestler myself, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to that camp. They just want extra money. I don't really think I'm going to get any better. I'll just rather go to a practice and I feel good instead of that. So I don't think that's a really negative aspect of this that really should be talked about. Opportunities. This is a great opportunity for the business to expand and reach out to the kids more. So, for example, a lot of these national tournaments that this club takes, they don't. All the kids on their team are not all from their club. What I mean by that is, say if they have a spot of, a heavyweight, they need a heavyweight, but they don't have anyone in their club that's a heavyweight. They might go to someone at another club in Georgia, or maybe in South Carolina or Florida, to fill in that spot. So that expands, Morris Fitness, who what is a business in Georgia, but now they have ties to other states like Florida and South Carolina. Not to mention, this also helps the coaches in that aspect as well. Networking in that instance is just kind of knowing each other. Not to mention, it's kind of nice for the kids to kind of just meet new people and just like talk to each other. And this also allows the kids and the coaches to have opportunities to get along with each other before they compete. Again, going back to what I just said, we Morris Fitness might be picking up a kid from Florida to compete with them. They might not know this kid. They might have to get comfortable with this kid. Now, that being said, all these kids from other states weren't able to go to this camp, and the coaches completely understood because that is too much of a commitment. But that is an aspect to keep in mind in this instance. Threats. In this situation, it's important to understand that other businesses are probably doing the same. So, if, for example, this camp didn't go well, these kids can still pull out. So, say, like, if a kid decided to come to Morris Fitness at this camp, going to be a part of a team, but then had a terrible experience with some of the kids. Maybe the parents got into it with each other. Maybe a parent got into it with a coach. Maybe a parent got into it with another kid. You don't know what's going to happen. So there's always that aspect of like, okay, maybe this camp will go wrong for a kid. Then, if a kid has a bad experience at this camp, they're probably thinking, and the parents are probably thinking, oh, I don't want my kid to be part of this team going to a national tournament. So they pull them out. Now, unfortunately, there's a spot open up in that team, and the coaches can't fill it. So that is something to keep in mind. And other businesses, like other wrestling clubs, are probably doing the same thing. So that is something to keep in mind. Just a quick overview. There's no use of AI for this project. I pretty much just came in, help out with the event, and then I was able to make a presentation on it. Thank you so much for your time.